taking them so long?
I don't know. Could you please try and relax? You're making me tense.
I'm sorry. I'm just nervous, that's all. It's all right to be nervous, isn't it?
Of course it is. It's nerve-wracking, really, all this waiting around.
I mean, really, how long does it take? I've got Dawson coming for a meeting at 1.
Relax. Can you please sit down? We'll have plenty of time.
Yeah, easy for you to say. I'm sorry. I just hope everything's going to be okay, that's all.
It will be. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, look at us. We're smart, we're successful, we both earn decent salaries. Good morning.
Mr. and Mrs. Downer. I'm Dr. Laurel, Head of Genetics at Mercy Clinic.
Stand down now. And this is my wife, Vivian.
How do you do? I'm sure you're anxious to get the results of your ultrasound.
Yes.
Extremely.
Okay, well, let's start with the obvious. Would you like to know the sex of the child?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, you're having a little boy.
Boy!
Oh, I can't believe it, honey, a little boy.
I'm glad you're pleased.
Oh, boy, I hope he looks like his daddy.
Oh, me too.
Is everything all right with him?
For the most part.
What do you mean?
Oh, my God, is my baby okay?
Mrs. Downer, I think you should relax. Your baby's perfectly healthy.
Thank you.
He's not, you know the word I'm looking for, he's not, special, is he? Is special the PC word for...
No, your child does not have Down syndrome, no.
That's the word I was looking for.
So the baby's okay?
Well, we ran the standard genetic projection test. Looks. Intelligence. Athletic ability. And it looks like your boy is a typical child.
A typical child?
What exactly is a typical child?
Average looks. Average intelligence. A typical child.
Are you telling me that my son's going to be average?
There must be some mistake. Are you sure you've checked the right fetus?
Mr. Downer, Mrs. Downer, your baby is going to be perfectly normal.
Average.
Average boy.
What does that even mean, average?
You know, typical.
I don't know what to say.
Vivian. Dr. Laurel, we make decent money. We are good people. What if we buy him the right education? Something top-notch. Eton for a start, then maybe St Andrews.
Mr. Downer, to be frank, I don't think your son's IQ is going to be up to the task.
Doctor, how low is it?
Well, looking at the tests, I'd say 105.
105?
That's impossible! Absurd!
Where does it say that?
Well, according to the results of the Greenlaw Finland scale, the boy's IQ will be no less than 100 and no greater than 110.
Oh, I don't know what to say.
I'm in a state of shock. Well, I could set up a meeting with a social worker.
A social worker? Do we look like the kind of people that would use a social worker? This is all your fault.
My fault?
Yes.
How is this my fault?
You had a glass of wine right at the beginning, remember? Before we found
One glass of wine, that would make any difference.
You had a cup of coffee every single
Don't you dare make me feel guilty about that.
Mr. Downer, Mrs. Downer, one glass of wine is not going to change the genetic makeup of your child, nor is the daily cup of coffee.
You're saying this is my fault?
I'm not saying it's anybody's fault. It's genetics. Pure and simple genetic.
Stan, this is all your gene pool.
My gene pool? How is it my gene pool?
Oh, come on, Stan. Your father.
What about my father?
How many times was he passed up for promotion in that accounting firm?
That had nothing to do with his IQ.
Oh, what was it then? The way that he dressed?
You leave my father out of this. Besides, what about your cousin, Marv?
Marv? Can you believe... Marv's my third cousin, for Christ's sake. His DNA is completely different.
Marv is special.
Oh, come on, Stan. Cousin Janie was 47 when she had him.
You're 43? Is this an age thing? Have we waited too long?
Mr. and Mrs. Downer, you need to relax. As I told you before, there's nothing you could have done to change the genetic makeup of this child.
How can my baby be born a typical child? I always got good grades. Right before I met you, I was thinking about doing a PhD. Perhaps you should have encouraged me more. Typical sexist male.
Me? Sexist? oh, that is funny, Vivian. If I am so sexist, then when the baby is born, I'll quit my job and you can go out and bring home the bacon.
I don't think so, Stan. What would the neighbours think? None of the other fathers stay at home. You know damn well there's a retroactive trend for women staying at home, and I need to stay on top of it.
What do you do for work, Mrs. Downer?
I'm a volunteer. I work from home. I'm a public health advocate for women's rights.
Well, you might feel differently after the baby's born. Or maybe you might go out to work, part-time.
Dr. Laurel, I can't believe you're saying this just minutes after telling me that my son is going to be born a typical child. He's going to need all the help he can get. Oh my God! Can you recommend any courses we might be taking to deal with something like this?
Well, there's...
Maybe we should rethink this thing.
What thing?
The whole thing.
What whole thing?
The whole baby thing.
What are you saying?
Maybe we should give him up. Dr. Laurel, what are our options?
Well, there are several options. The test is done early enough that if you like, you can terminate the pregnancy. This is an option that we don't encourage, you know.
Will it hurt my wife?
It's day surgery. They use anaesthetic, so it's not painful. There might be a bit of cramping and heavy bleeding afterwards, but don't worry if that's what she'll be in no danger.
What are our other options?
Adoption.
Are there people who would actually want a typical child?
There are people out there that would welcome a typical child.
What sort of people?
Typical people.
I don't want typical people raising my baby.
Honey, maybe he will feel more comfortable.
I don't want it, Stan. I don't care if he's one of them. I mean, we didn't wait this long to have a child for him to be sent to state school.
Yes, but we didn't know he would be typical.
I don't care. I can't do it, Stan. I can't do it.
Honey, don't torture yourself. Dr. Laurel, what kind of life can we expect our child to have? What can we realistically expect of him?
I'm glad you asked. I'd just like to say that I know how hard this is for you. Believe me, I have an 8-year-old who's a typical child.
Really? Why didn't you say so?
This isn't about me. And I found that parents, upon hearing the news, need to express their anger and guilt.
How does your husband feel?
Ex-husband. It was a relationship that started when I was at school. And let's just say, my taste was not discriminating. I was young.
Was he abusive?
No, nothing like that. He was just, well, average. Well, he was sporty, which I might mention that a lot of typical children have a very average propensity towards athletics.
Oh.
I didn't know that.
Yes, it's true. My little girl's an incredible gymnast. And anyway, her father was just a typical average guy. Well, ended up going to college and then getting a job in an accounting firm. Perfectly average guy. Yeah, and yes.
We understand.
So So is your little girl okay?
She's fine. She's healthy. She loves gym club. She's a typical B student. Well, I have to push her, but she's not studious. Excuse me. She'll never go to med school. She'll never get a master's. But with a little perseverance, I might be able to get into a good uni, where she'll meet the right man. She's very pretty, and she will make an excellent wife one day.
That doesn't sound so bad.
No. So, let's get back down to your son. So, you'll need to know what to expect if you decide to keep him.
We're keeping him.
We are keeping him.
Okay, well then, as I've already told you, your child would be a boy, average looks, average intelligence, IQ no less than 100 and no greater than 110. What else do you want to know?
What kind of professional career will he have?
Well, let's see. This typical child will probably fall into one or more categories of employment. Sales, retail, hospitality, or physical education.
Jesus.
Who's going to love him?
Well, this typical child, like most, will have no problems finding a compatible male through his workplace, a bar, or school.
Oh, wow.
Wasn't that easy for me?
Maybe his life won't be so bad after all. At least he'll have a mate.
Oh, God knows he won't have a career.
Somebody's got to teach PE. What about the arts? Will he appreciate them?
Well, I can read the report. This typical child may enjoy dinner, theatre, and Shrek. The musical. Mr. and Mrs. Downer, there is a support group for parents called Parents of Typical Children. It meets once a month to discuss issues and goals. It's for people, it's a relaxing way for people to come together who are going through the same sort of thing. This is their brochure.
I don't think I could do that.
What if I know somebody in the group? And I go back to the office that my child was typical. Well, I could never live it down. Never.
This group is very protective of anonymity. Believe me, don't you think there are other parents of typical children who feel the same way as you do?
I can't submit like that, no.
Where are you going?
I'm going to go home, put on some classical music in a stereo speaker, place it next to my womb, and read some Shakespeare aloud, something fun like Midsummer's.
Seriously?
Mrs. Downer!
No! I've heard about all I can take. No child of mine will ever be born typical. That's just not on the cards.
Right, okay. Well, there are other things. But what about the report?
There's margin for error.
Yeah, that's true. There's a margin for error.
How strong is these tests anyway?
Well, they're never 100% accurate.
Yes, well, how strong?
98%.
98%!
So there is a 2% chance that our child is above average.
You didn't tell us that.
These tests are baloney. Come on, we are leaving.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Downer. Don't blame me in 8 years' time, when your child will have to be forced to read a book, cannot distinguish between a viola and a French horn, would rather play footy than go to the date. You'll be back. You'll want this. Parents of typical children.
No. Thank you, Doctor. But no.
Vivian, I think I've left something in the doctor's office. I'll be right back. Do you mind? Always wanted to see Shrek, the musical.